All right, so we are kicking off Ideate today. And let me get my slides.
Did you want me to share or were you going to do it?
I think I can handle, let's see if this computer cooperates. This is not my normal machine, so be ready in case I don't get my life together.
I got it. I'll stand by.
Thank you. Looks like we might be in business. Okay. All right, I think we're good.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so we are at the, I advance my slides though. There we go. We are at the third step in the design thinking process, which is ideate. And so this is after we figured out what our customers really need and want, and just really understand their needs. And we've defined the problem the way they understand it and see it and existed and are experiencing it. And now this is where we come up with some amazing ideas of how we can address their needs. So in the beginning of the class, a lot of you guys came in with how you understood their needs and some amazing solutions. And we spent a lot of time kind of telling you guys, like, table these thoughts on solutions and really focus on getting to know your customer, your target audience, really understanding their pain points and their needs, and just really kind of sitting in that space where you understand how those how these needs come about, how they're interacting with them, and just really understanding life from their experience, right? And so in that, you really spent time in putting yourself in their shoes. And seeing it from their lens. So now we're taking all that learning, and now we're saying, what is the solution that fits that problem? What are some ideas of possible solutions? What are all the realms of ways that we can address this? So I know by now everyone finished their interviews. Yay, you all got to 100 interviews. Yay? No? Okay. 30. We got 30? No? I'm not seeing excited hands go up or nothing. We got 15?
We got 5.
Okay, we got 5. Oh, okay. We can work with 5 if we can get more. And just to make a quick point, just because we've moved on to something else in terms of our sections of design doesn't mean you have to stop. So if you're coming across more people you can interview, please interview them, add that to your data. Just for the sake of, we don't want this to be a 6-month class. We cram a lot of stuff in the 10 weeks, but that doesn't mean all these things happen in your business in that 10 weeks. So as you're learning the tools to add on, feel free. Notice the design thinking process is always kind of this backwards feedback. As you learn something at Define, it might change the way you think about empathize, and you go back and do empathize. As you learn something at Ideate, you're like, oh, let me go back and enhance this step. So it's never a straight through process. It's always learn, refine. It's a forward and backwards. And this is just the business development in general, right? This is just that process where we're constantly learning information at the stage we are that are making us rethink some of the previous steps that we took. And it's okay to go back. So FYI, if you got 5, don't stay at 5. And at the end of the 10 weeks, hopefully you have more than 5, because hopefully you're going back through the process and reiterating these steps. And that's actually how you really start to learn them and really start to think about how to apply them on a deeper level. So that's my tangent. So everyone finish up, the interviews that you've had, you pulled your data together and you analyze your data. Yes, we've done that, right? And then we came up with our point of view statements, right? So that was kind of at the very beginning, we started off with, okay, here's how I define the problem. Now, based off of all these people I interviewed, all this literature I've read, all this market research, maybe not so much stuff that I've read, here's the problem from the perspective of my user. So that is my defined problem statement, the way my users see it. And then we came up with our how might we statements, which is taking our problem statements and turning them into a question, right? Because you can't solve a comment, but a question gives you something to solve for. So now we have all of our how might we statements, the plural, right? We might have more than one. We have our how might we statements to have our problems to solve. Yes, that's where we are. Thumbs up, heads nodding. Okay. Because I haven't been here with you guys. I need to check the room before I kind of run away with things. So I'm very interactive. So thank you. Thank you with the thumbs up. All right. So now that I know that we're on the same page, this is how we base our ideation step on. This is the step that we now take that question and we're trying to think through all the ways the problem can be addressed. And even with multiple how might we statements, we're going to do our due diligence on each one of them. So for this evening, we're going to take one and we're going to step through it. But whatever we do, if you have 5 how might we statements, I want you to go through this process with all 5 of them. So the how might we statements, all right, do I see a question? Okay. FYI, I get excited because I really do love what I do. And I talk fast when I get excited. So if I'm running a mile a minute, just tell me to slow down. I won't be offended. You can tell me to stop, pause, drop, roll. You know, I might not do all that, but you know, I talk fast when I get excited. So you all with me and we're ready to jump into Ideate?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the feedback. All right, here we go. So there are a lot of different ways for you to ideate. The way we're going to use today is called brainstorming. And brainstorming there's some rules to it, but it's pretty much the way you know brainstorming to be in every other platform that you use. Essentially, we use our how might we statements to help us focus during our brainstorming session, right? And we set our target to say like 20 ideas, right? This is all about quantity, not quality, right? So we defer judgment. No idea is a bad idea. You're throwing them out there, right? Imagine having a brainstorming session with a 5-year-old, right? Flying monkeys, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? We're relocating Saturn to Mars, make it happen. All ideas make it onto the sheet, right? And so it's all about volume, right? One conversation at a time, right? So if we're throwing out ideas, we want to make sure we hear everyone else's, but we're going to use our Miro board. So we're going to put them on our stickies. So we're going to talk out loud and we're going to put them on our stickies. So we're all seeing them out there. And the same thing like before, it doesn't matter if it's already out there. It doesn't matter how wild and crazy it is. The wilder, the crazier we put it all on the board, right? We start off with the headline, we build ideas of other topics, we stay on topic, but we encourage wild ideas. So after each idea, we're going to look at the ideas and we're going to see how we build on them, right? And so that is going to be our brainstorming process. And it's going to make sense. We're going to go through an example together, but I want to see if anybody has any questions on how this brainstorming ideation process is going to work. Any questions so far? Y'all are quiet bunch.
I had one question. So when using Miro, how do you make like a title on the sticky note page? Because I just see like a bunch of sticky notes that you can type text on, but is there a way to create like a large title banner or something like that?
Yes. You could do one or two ways and I will walk you through it. Let me stop sharing and I'm going to, I have to share my Miro board via my other machine because I am not signed in on this machine. Okay. Second.
Is it the one with plastic?
I'm going to get to that, but I want to kind of just show them, I want to answer Skylar's question and then we're going to go to the plastic, but yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Ashley is here. Hi, Ashley.
Hey. All right. So if you are at any board, I'll just open up a new one to show you what that means, Skylar. And it's thinking about its life. Any second now. Any second now. Patience is running thin. Come on, we can do it. Come on. There we go. All right, it's gonna get there. There we go. So there's one or two ways. There's the title at the top. Once this pops up, you can, so where it says untitled. So, sorry, let me get that out of the way. Actually, you could just kind of click to get your dashboard. Sorry, I have my Zoom bars in the way. There we go. So now we can get to. All right, so you could either just go title and put your name here, the name of your board there, and when you print it out, you'll see it there. So board. And you could click on the T to insert text. And I'm gonna, because I want this to be the size of a title, I'm going to put how might we? And from there, I can insert my stickies accordingly. Or I can go to my template board. If I'm starting off with a template board, any second now. And I can move my board down, my templates down. Same thing, go to my text, my t-text, type it here. And make it humongous. Boom. We're good? Awesome. All righty. All
Thank
right.
you.
No, you're very welcome. All right. We got you, Ashley. Hopefully you'll get a chance to review and participate in these activities a little later. All right. So what we're going to do is, oh wait, I was supposed to, let me go back to this. All right, so what we're gonna do for our brainstorming activity, we're gonna open up Miro. There we go. And you could do a blank board, and you could just go to Miro and just use, you don't have to use the templates. The templates are just so you don't have to do 100 slides. You're gonna do this separately in a little bit. I'm gonna share a link and you guys are gonna do it together. RJ, go ahead and put the link in the tab. Did I forget? I forgot to put it in here. Put the shared, can you please put the shared Miro board in the tab, and we're going to brainstorm together after a video, but go ahead and share it with them and we'll brainstorm after this video. And this is a template for the activity that we'll do after. So I'm all out of order, guys. Sorry, it's been a minute. All right, let me stop sharing and get you guys to our video. The computer is moving slow as molasses. All right, let's do this. Oops.
Suggests is that you start on neural pathways through the brain. Pick up a lot of thoughts quickly and intuitively. It's best to do this with a group of diverse people, so you have lots of different brains to explore. This leads to the creation of more ideas and maybe new solutions. Before you start, make sure you solve the right problem. Einstein said, to solve a problem, I would spend 55 minutes defining the problem and then 5 minutes solving it. Tina Seelig.
So I'm gonna pause here. Solving the right problem is what we've literally been spending the last, 4 weeks, is making sure we solve the right problem. Because it doesn't make sense to do all this work ideating on the wrong problem. And it doesn't make sense to build a solution for a problem no one cares about. That's what a lot of innovations out there and a lot of products we see out there are solutions to problems that people don't care about, that they don't want to spend money on, or they just don't value, right? And so spending time to solve the right problem or understanding the problem that is worth solving is a huge part of the design thinking process, because this will make and break your business. And this can save you a lot of time. Okay, continue.
A well-known professor on creativity teaches to define a problem by reframing the question. For example, by simply asking why. Say you brainstorm ideas for a birthday party for your mum. You can ask, why do we organize birthday parties? You might then realize that we do them to make people feel special. Then ask, how can I make my mum feel special? Now a totally different idea might come up. Once you define the real problem, start. Here are 3 ways. Guided group brainstorming. First, get some markers and a whiteboard or some post-it notes. Then invite the participants. These are your brains. Company bosses, teachers, or other authorities are advised to stay outside or facilitate. Their authority can intimidate shy people from speaking up. Then lay out the 4 ground rules of brainstorming. 1, go for quantity. Get out all the ideas, no matter how silly. 2, withhold criticism. There are no bad ideas. 3, welcome crazy ideas. The wilder the better. 4, build on other people's ideas. Listen to them first and then add yes and. Now you can start. Write the problem as a question on the whiteboard. Then ask all of your brains to throw in their ideas. As a facilitator, keep the discussion focused on the topic. To ensure that people don't speak over one another, you can provide a talking stick which is passed around. Note down all the ideas and put them up for everyone to see. Remind people to add on to ideas. If Anne thinks of, let's build a cool umbrella, Jay can say, yes, and let's make it one that flies too. If someone did kill a good idea, the facilitator can always bring it back to life to throw it back on the table. At the end of the session, see if there are 2 ideas that can be combined. In brainstorming, the slogan is 1 + 1 = 3. Then let the team vote to know which are the most popular ones. You can now either start with another round of brainstorming to build on those ideas, or if you are happy with the solution, bring it to an end. Finally, record your best ideas so you don't lose them. The nominal group technique. Explain the ground rules and present the problem. Then ask each person to write their ideas anonymously. Then collect the ideas and let the group vote on each idea. The top ranked ideas may be sent back to the participants or subgroups for further brainstorming. For example, one group may brainstorm on the form of a product, while the other focuses on the technical features. The group passing technique. Let people sit in a circle, explain the rules, and present the problem. Each person writes down one idea and then passes the piece of paper to the next person, who adds some thoughts. This continues until everybody gets his or her original piece of paper back. By this time, it is likely that the group will have extensively elaborated on each idea. Let everyone explain their evolved idea and write each one up. You can then let the group vote.
All right, we don't have to go through all of the techniques because the main one that we'll be using is the one they covered initially, which is the brainstorming. How do you guys feel about it so far? What are your thoughts?
I feel like I've done this a couple times for different classes, but I can see where I kind of failed as a leader with not doing necessarily the yes and, but instead potentially being like, not like putting down an idea because it wasn't necessarily feasible, and then not like trying and being more, I guess, realistic as opposed to like promoting creativity for every single idea possible.
Okay. Sorry, 2 machines makes noise. All right. Anybody else? That's really good feedback, Skylar. Anybody else? What are your thoughts on brainstorming? How do we feel about this for our, because we're working this through our how might we statements. Looks like y'all feeling good. All righty. All right, so we are going to go to the link that RJ shared. Let me, RJ, if you can share your screen, if you're set up for that.
Yes, I am. 1 second.
All right, so as a group, we're going to explore how might we reduce plastics in the ocean. And so, oh, that was part of the last video. Okay, that was my fault. In the video that I cut off, they start to talk about brainstorming in terms of reducing plastic and waste in the ocean. And so I apologize, but you guys get the understanding of our oceans are being destroyed with plastic and waste in the ocean. And so what we're going to explore is our wild and crazy thoughts about how might we reduce plastic in the ocean. So let me back up. Does everyone have access to the link that RJ shared? Are we all in there? All right. So you know how this process works. This is very similar to what we did before. Grab a Post-it and you post an idea. No idea is too small, too big. No idea is too wild or too crazy. I just want you guys to start populating the Post-its with your ideas. Let me know if you need some help from us, but you guys should be pretty good at this by now.
I must not be on the right screen because I'm not able to pick a note out. So
You're not able to do what?
I'm not able to pick a note out. So I think I'm on somebody else's screen. So I think I need to go to Miro on my own.
Yes. Excuse me. RJ is just sharing so that everyone sees what we're sharing. But yes, you're supposed to click on the Miro link that she shared in the chat on your own so that you can actually contribute to the shared board.
Oh, okay. Let's see if I can figure that out. Okay.
We don't have to do this in silence. I want to hear your ideas. All right, so far I see recycle properly, use more paper objects, ocean cleanup groups, eliminate plastic altogether, plastic filters, okay. Less trips to the supermarket, personal bags from home when shopping, okay. Okay, shop in bulk. Plastic eating microorganisms. You guys are staying conservative. I want the wild and crazy ideas. Hit me with it. I know your imagination is active. Costco, okay.
Sinking in volcanoes.
You said what now?
Carry it over a volcano and drop it in. See what happens.
That might cause more issues, right? Because if that's toxic stuff, now that's going into our air. So we've transferred our issue from our water to our air. Wait, sorry, no judgment. Right. Put it in there. In the volcano as it goes.
Or earthquakes.
Reducing plastics in our oceans. So let's, part of the brainstorming is thinking about how does it get in there in the first place? What are some ways that plastic gets in our ocean? Anybody? How do we get plastic in our ocean? Hello, can you hear me?
We hear you. I don't know how it gets in the ocean. I think we're not recycling them properly, but that's a question I always ask myself, how it gets in the ocean. I really don't know.
We can talk about ways to promote trash bins on boats.
Okay.
Like that can be written into law or like fishing regulation.
Okay. Trash bin on boats. Okay. So I know some of the ways it gets in our ocean is actually there is some illegal dumping in the ocean in a lot of different places. So sometimes it's intentionally. And then sometimes you think about people going to the beach and they're leaving their waste behind, right? So that's another way it gets into our ocean. Another way is storm drains, right? Some of the stuff that goes down our storm drains eventually ends up in our oceans. So those are at least 3 of the common ways I know it ends up in our ocean. Right. And as Skylar mentioned, people on boats, especially people are on their long term, they're not always dumping it into trash bins, they're dumping it into the ocean because everyone assumes the ocean is vast and it can handle it. Right. So that's just some of the ways that we know that it gets in there. Anybody got some suggestions on some other ways that trash gets in our ocean? And that's a really good question, right? We can't solve a problem that we don't understand. So understanding how the trash gets in the ocean gives us ideas of how might we reduce plastic in the ocean. What are some other ways trash gets in our ocean?
Well, it's everywhere. It's blowing, the bags blow in the wind. We try to get rid of our plastic trash by giving other countries all of it they'll take, and then they put it into questionable landfill uses because you really can't recycle it except to make other plastic things out of, like benches and other, big heavy plastic bulky objects. It just breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces, but it never loses its identity.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that is very true. Plastic is kind of that product that keeps on giving, right? It's not going anywhere anytime soon. But so understanding that and how it gets in our ocean, when we think about reducing plastic waste in the ocean, what are some other wild and crazy ideas, right?
I would say creating food packaging without the use of plastic, because that's a really known problem. Not only water bottles, but a lot of other carton-based or shelf-stable based packaging has some layer of plastic in it, which makes it very difficult to recycle or separate the different layers that are required in the packaging. And so that's actually why there's like a large accumulation of these types of packages, because they literally can't be separated into their initial components without like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment.
Okay. Yep, that's true. So reducing packaging. is definitely, I think, a big piece of the puzzle.
Or just creating different types of packaging, because
Mhm.
we have to eat no matter what, but it's more of just like stop relying on plastics or things that aren't able to biodegrade.
Okay, so alternative forms of packaging. So reducing packaging, but also creating, because people need some kind of packaging, right? Like that's why it exists. We're looking for something. So if we have an alternative form of packaging, then we will stop using what's there. Did you already add that, Skylar? Okay.
Yeah, and also I thought a way to reduce plastic was, I've seen a couple of like really interesting videos of developing countries actually making bricks out of waste. So they sit there and they like sift through, either using like plastic shopping bags, kind of some things that people have already addressed, and like different types of bottles, and based off of the composition of the plastic, they're able to combine that with recycled paper and actually make lightweight bricks that they smelt down and are able to build schools and houses and farms and stuff like that out of, which is, I think, very innovative.
Yeah, I got to tour one. It was really interesting. It was like inside of one of the facilities was like a kaleidoscope when the sunlight hits the plastic. So it was really interesting. I was always curious as how that goes long term. Because even though plastic takes longer, it does, start to break down. But I was really fascinated with just that type of innovation. So that's cool. What else? What are some other ways we can do? So packaging is one of the problems. And so a way to address it is reducing plastic packaging. What about the dumping that people do? What's one way of reducing plastic that happens via people dumping it in there? So if people are dumping, say, for example, from boats, what are some ways, and, Skylar mentioned putting bins on the, mandating the bins on the boats, but what are some other ways of combating that? And these don't have to be practical or logical. I just want to hear your ideas.
I thought a way would be like monetary incentivization for like collection points at docks. So instead of you actually dumping it out in the sea, you can incentivize people for like 5 cents a bottle or 5 cents whatever, to actually have a receptacle on like site or at the docks, as opposed to dumping it in the ocean.
Cool. So it's kind of like how they used to pass exchange for the cans or the can lids back in the day. So that's awesome. Other ideas? I heard somebody start to chime in earlier.
That was me. I was thinking that we can't get isolated from, what happens to our trash and our waste. So if we could really show people how animals, get caught up in plastic fishing line, or they swallow pieces of plastic that gets caught up in their throats, and they carry that around for the rest of their life, and, suffer the whole time. Really show people what's happening, rather than just news, that doesn't really reach.
So some kind of awareness campaign or awareness activities. Yep, add it to the list or add it to a tab. That's awesome. So awareness and education. What are some other ways we can kind of reduce plastic in our ocean? Always start from the problem. How did it get there? How do we reduce it? So we talked about dumping, we talked about packaging. What about like just kind of coming in from like people hanging out at the beach? So a way of, taking your trash with you. Or let me think what else we said in terms of how it gets there. Storm drains. So maybe having city ordinance about more effective storm drains. I'm just throwing stuff out there. We got a lot of good ideas so far, though. All right, I'm gonna give you guys another minute or two to throw some more ideas out. And then we will start to organize.
How about using maybe some sort of recycled material for clothing?
Okay.
Recycled plastic.
That's interesting. I think one of the things, the plastic is a waste, right? So we discard it. What if plastic was a commodity? So people aren't wasting it so much, right? If there was like, and Skylar kind of pointed to this like monetary gain, but what if was there some other incentive that people would not want to discard of their plastic so much, but actually had something that, if not monetary, that they can either convert it to or do, and I don't know, maybe a random thought, what if plastic was a currency, right? Like it's another form of payment for something, right? Will we then have so much of it in our oceans? Random thoughts.
I think the designer purse industry, a lot of designer purses are already coated in a thin layer of plastic in order to help preserve the leather underneath. And so instead of using any leather, you can make, I mean, they probably already have these, but like the vegan, like leather or whatever, and just using recycled plastics in order to make that possible.
Okay. Excuse me. All right. I'm looking at the cool ideas, monetary incentives, make bricks from plastic, make flip-flops from plastic. Okay, I saw that and it reminded me, you guys might be too young to, but we have, especially here in Florida, the jelly shoes in the hot summers. I don't know if everybody remember those painful summers. It works until it doesn't work.
I had a few pairs.
Don't stand in the sun too long. Go ahead. Okay. Stop producing plastic, give reward for pound of trash, recycle plastic, tighter laws, legal dumping, shop in bulk. Any other cool ideas? Or I'm going to let you guys, whoever's typing, get a few more in there. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to then work on organizing our ideas. So let's see what we have here. All right, so the first thing we want to do is start to group things that are similar. So if we can probably pull it out a little bit at the bottom here, or just kind of do a little clustering. We want to pull the ideas out that are similar. And so I'm going to move recycling down because I feel like a couple of the ideas centered around recycling. So anything recycling related, we can kind of put it in this corner. So you guys help me out. We can kind of put things that are alike into their respective corner. And then shopping, we can kind of put shopping into its own corner. And so everything shopping related can go there. And if you see another category that doesn't fit into the two categories we created, you can create another one.
Is using biodegradable products a recycling thing?
We can put it there. If we don't feel like it is, then we move it.
There's a sticky recycle for another product usage. Middle.
Say it again.
Recycle for another product usage in the middle.
Yep, go ahead and grab it and throw it down there.
Okay.
Okay, we have a whole category down to the bottom right on making products out of recycled plastic, or not recycled, but out of plastic.
I don't know how I feel about this. You guys, y'all chime in. Using biodegradable products. Is that under recycling, or I think it's more along the lines of alternative forms of material?
I
What do you
think
guys
that
think?
could be put under like, I'm making this legislation category right here.
Mhm.
So I feel like that could go under the current legislation one, maybe.
Using biodegradable products?
Yeah.
If it doesn't fit, it's okay to make it its own category.
Then you can just make it its own, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, please, anybody else free to share your thoughts, but I feel like it should be in a category of alternative material. I can't see the bottom. I see all y'all faces. So where's your legislation section, Skylar? Here's one for you.
Cool. I grabbed it. It's the second to, it's in the middle, like in the middle right. It's
Okay.
kind of, but I think there might be another one that's like kind of creating itself is like filters are their own, as opposed to these that are kind of all of. I don't know where this is even goes.
I think tighter laws against illegal dumping should go with heavy fines.
Okay.
Mm.
Put it in there.
Oh, there it is. I don't know where it went. I just brought it closer. Who put tell Black Panther to get there?
I love it.
I
That's
was wondering the same
advocacy.
thing. That's funny.
That is hilarious.
No such thing as a bad idea. I love it.
Me too.
I would put that with the education one as soon as I find where that category went.
Okay.
Right? If you have, because you think about what Black Panther is, right? It's more of like celebrity endorsement, right? Influencer, right? Those kind of characters, their voices carry a lot of weight. So if you think about it from that perspective of how do we then leverage our influencers as advocates for reducing plastic in the ocean, that idea has a lot of value.
That's a good point.
And so that's what I love about brainstorming. Even in the most wild and crazy idea, they trigger ideas for actual innovations, and it gets us out of the box of the things that we're used to thinking about. And that's why you throw everything out of there on the board. But then after a while, you start to see like, wait, I might not be able to go to Mars, but what are some ways that we can kind of think about leveraging, alternative technology to address this problem, right? And so it's an idea that's big enough that gets you thinking out of the space that you were thinking and really innovating.
Mm.
Linda, there was one about education that, did you add it?
I think so. About the animals and the birds swallowing the.
No, you mentioned, darn, advocate. It was education and something. Awareness. It was like awareness.
Awareness, yes.
Yeah, making people more aware. You said you added that one already?
Yes, I think I did.
Trying to see where it went.
One thing nobody said anything about politics, because I think politics are getting in the way of some of this. Like they always say, well, one country's making all the problem, and so, it's not fair to make the whole world have to suffer the consequences. I think politics probably plays a lot of getting in the way of trying to solve problems like this.
Yeah, Skylar made a legislation section.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
Mm-hmm. We're on it. There it is.
All right, so what I am beginning to do, and what your next step is, so once you finish this amazing brainstorm, you start to put things that are alike together, right? Which we are beginning to do. And then, RJ, can you scroll your screen down a little bit so we can kind of see how the thing, there we go. We can see how they're taking shape a little, there you go, that's even better, thank you. So what we do is we put them in groups into what's similar. So what are the ideas are similar? And then we give them a label, right? Very similar to what we did before. So to the far right, we had recycle. And then around it, we had recycling for another product usage, creating more recycling facility closer to the ocean, recycling properly, find new products that make that incorporate non-recyclable plastics, more recycling bins in the beaches, right? So all these ideas around recycling. And then there's ideas around reducing, right? So reducing our use of plastic. So using biodegradable products, reducing packages, eliminating plastic altogether, using more paper objects, stop producing plastic, less plastic containers, avoiding plastic when doing something else, using bags from home when shopping, less trips to the supermarket. So we start to see all the ideas that make sense together. And just like before, if you have a label, an idea doesn't quite fit, it's okay to make it its own category, right? And so what you do with all these ideas is, now that we know the problem, and we know how our user, we know who our customer is. So it's always empathy. Who's the customer? What do they need? What is the problem that they're truly having? Now, what are the solutions? The solution spaces that fits the needs, the problems, right? Because our how might we statements, they come out of the problem. We took our problem and we turned it into a question. And then we started to think about what are all the different ways we can answer this question, right? Now, when we think about building a solution, right? When we think about what does the solution look like? What does this solution embodies? What does it intake? This is where our brainstorming comes from. And even though you all kind of came into this with an idea of what your solution is, if your solution does not include anything that that you brainstorm when you do your brainstorming board, then you know you might be missing the mark, right? And so this is how you ground your ideas into the problem of your users. And even when you think about our categories, what are the categories that seem to have the most volume? Because your brainstorming is going to come out of some of your ideas, but it's also going to come out of things that you discovered when you interviewed your customer base. So if you were interviewing your customer base about reducing plastic in the ocean, and you notice, a lot of them did talk about recycling, or, a lot of people really heavy on legislation, right? Then, that's going to be my starting point. I'm going to, start off in the categories that seem to carry either the most weight for my customers, that has the most value based off of what I learned talking to them. Or I'm going to also start in the low-hanging fruit, right? Like, okay, it might take me years to get legislation, but I can start an education awareness campaign tomorrow. So while I'm building on the legislation and the campaigning and all the things that I think is good, I'm going to go ahead and start creating a pamphlet on, do you know how this is affecting our animals, right? And so what ideation gives you is, one, a starting point, but also if you were to pick, say, 2 or 3 of these categories and say, these are the key features that my solution has to have, right? And just looking at, and this one, you know, we don't have a lot of data from, you know, people that we've interviewed, but it's like, okay, my solution to how I'm going to reduce plastic in the ocean is going to include reducing usage, legislation, and recycling, right? Those are my three biggest categories. So those are going to be the killer features, and whatever solution I have will embody, right? And it's not just big, but it's also the things that your users held dear to heart. The ones they had a lot to say. They lit up and they, you know, could tell you all about the problem spaces. Those are the things that you're thinking through as you start to brainstorm. And this gives you a starting point. So your solution, say if it's a tech solution on reducing plastic in the ocean, right? You're going to want to go through your three main categories, right? How can I use a tech solution to get people to recycle more, to give them, maybe incentivize their using alternative products than plastic, and to get a campaign going to start to mobilize legislation, right? And so those are the questions that you're designing. These type of brainstorming activities is what keeps you ahead of the competitor, because you're not just thinking about what is the problem now, but where's the problem going in terms of my users, and what are the things that they care about, and how do I design a solution that fits the things that are important to them, that pain point that they need addressed. This is where that comes out of. Questions on this so far? Yay, Ashley, I'm glad you're getting something out of it, even though you can't participate, but you can see it. So great. All right, so how are we feeling about this? Are we ready to do our own?
Heck yeah.
All right, go ahead and stop sharing, RJ, and I'm gonna talk you through you guys getting started. And let me see, how many people we have on with us? 1, 2. All right. I'm gonna share my screen. And RJ, if you can start setting up some breakout rooms, let's do do we have enough to do 3 people a piece in a breakout room? I'll let you figure out the distribution, RJ. All right. So now you guys are gonna open up Miro, and you can use, well, you already have Miro open, but you can use this link here as a template to start your own template. So you can kind of get things going and start the brainstorming on your own. So in Miro, go to the brain writing template. In the template, it's going to come up like this if you're there. Thumbs up if you're in your brain writing template, or tell me to hold on if you're still working your way there.
Is this in the chat? I missed the site.
All right, RJ, can you put the link in the chat?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you said something?
No, I said yes. I'm getting the link.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, I didn't realize my video's been off this whole time. Oh. As soon as I get back on. There we go. All right. So you should have the brain writing template RJ just shared in the chat if you didn't get it from the slide. And when you click on said template, oops, that's not what you do. It will pull up a very similar to like the one that we just used. a multicolored splattering of Post-its.
Is this the one with the participants in it?
So yes.
Okay.
And if it should already have all of your Post-its highlighted. To make them the same color with not highlighted. They should be within a box. So if you kind of see how this one has them all in a box, if not, you can just kind of drag across and have them all selected, not highlighted, selected. And up top where you see the color, you click on that and you can change them to all the same color just to make it a little easier to whichever color you choose. And I can do this in real time if anybody's struggling. I just wanted to kind of have it here so you can see. And when you have them all one color, you could either clear out the top Post-its or you can select and delete them because you probably won't need that many since it'll be a much smaller group working on it.
I'm able to highlight it, but for some reason I can't find where I make them all the same color.
Okay. At the top, do you see where it's kind of the color, just a random colored circle like it is on the one that I have on the screen?
No.
Okay, 1 second. Let me switch machines and I can show it to you on a different machine. In real time, 1 second. Okay, stop sharing.
I think I've got it now.
Okay.
Thank you.
How's everybody else doing? Are we there yet?
Yeah.
Getting there, I think. There we go.
Just for clarity, we're supposed to do this off of our interviews, like the data that we collected?
So yes and no. That's where your ideas are coming from. So as you start to think about how might we answer this question, you want to think about the things that you heard that your users that through your interviews. You want to think about the things that you read through the research. This is where you bring all of the data that you've been collecting, your interview data, your research data, and just random ideas you're trying to think of as all the different ways you can answer this question. So remember, just like we did this brainstorming, you use that data to fuel your ideas, but no idea is a bad idea going through this process.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Also, we're supposed to do this like board for every single one of our how might we statements, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Because this is where you really get the ideas of because the how might we state there are questions, and so this is where you're answering those questions.
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
Okay, I was going to demonstrate on a different machine, but it froze on me. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. How are we feeling on doing this on our own?
I personally would want to hear the other groups' like opinions on ideas, because I feel like I still have almost like a mental block with the problem that I think I've got and solved. So having more participants would be better, but I don't know how everyone else feels.
Great suggestion, Skylar, because that's what we're gonna do next. All righty. Hold on. I'm trying to get the other computer that is frozen to let go of my screen share. There we go. Can you guys see my slides again?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what we're going to do next is, and now this is not advancing. Okay. Don't worry about it. I skipped a slide. What we're going to do next is we're going to go into some breakout rooms. And what we are going to do is, what I want you all to do is in your breakout rooms, you're going to share. Oh, that's what I was trying to show with you guys, is how to do that. You're going to share. I'm going to get it up so I can show you real quick. You're going to share your boards with the others in your breakout room. And you're going to take about 10 minutes a piece. What our time is like. Oh yeah, we're good on time. 10, 20. Yeah, we're going to take 10 minutes a piece, and you're each going to brainstorm together on each other's how might we boards. So right now you have your how might we board up. You're going to put your question at the top, right? So I want you guys to work on that too. Right now is get your question at the top, and then I want you to go ahead and get your board set up. So clear out, if you have template data in there, clear out that template data. And then I'm going to share my screen again. Sorry, that's what I remembered I was trying to do, is show you how to, all right, sorry, I can't multitask. 1 second. Let me get this machine that froze on me back online, so you can see what I'm talking about. 1 second. All right, instead of trying to do it on that machine, I'm just signing up for a random Miro account on this machine, and then we can just do it this way. I apologize for the technical difficulties. Come on. If I can. There we go. This is what we try to avoid by having things, and now Miro's taking me through all of the things. Skip for now. Great. Brain writing Miro. There we go. All righty. All right, so this just made it easier than switching between machines. All right, so what you guys are gonna do is on your boards, as I was trying to demonstrate, once you have your boards up, you're going to share it once you're in your breakout rooms. After, first of all, everyone is good on getting your boards set up by putting your how might we statements in the top. We talked about that at the very beginning. No questions on that. We're good. I don't need to redemonstrate that. Okay, and so what I'm doing right now is what I talked to you guys about before, which is kind of clearing out. And so this makes it a little easier for me to kind of see what I'm working with in real time. So how might we, and you put your question. All right, so once all of that is there, what we're going to, questions on how we got here. Is everybody here? Everybody got their boards, sample data out of the way? Yes? Okay.
I don't,
Yeah.
but don't wait on me. I'll just see what everybody else is doing.
Okay, so we're gonna go to share, and then you want to, once you click on share, you want to make sure that before you get your link, anyone with the link can view. So you want to make sure that is selected, and then you click on copy board link. You're going to share that in the chat of your breakout rooms, so you guys can then brainstorm together. Questions on how we share our links.
You said anyone with the link, which one am I clicking? Can view,
So,
right?
Yep. So you come down. So once you click on share, so you click on share at the top right corner in your board, and where the last option, anyone with the link, and it might say no access. So you click on the arrow to get that drop down. And so instead of no access, you want anyone with link can view. Make sure that is selected, and then you can copy your board link. Once you copy that board link, you can put it in the chat to share it with your group members.
Is there a reason why we didn't want them to edit it?
Oh, duh, yes. That's strange. Why did it not? So I'm sorry. Yes. You can, sorry. Very correct. Thank you. Invite team. So you should be able to use the first link, copy team link invite. And you could use that one. Right, because I forgot they are editing. Thank you, Skylar. All righty. So let's make sure I didn't steer you guys wrong. So I just created my impromptu link, and I'm going to put it in the chat, and you guys should be able to edit it the same way that we edited the previous ones, if I did this right. And if I can get to my chat, where is, I made my Zoom stuff go away. This is why I hate sharing on this computer, because I can't get to stop sharing and place it. That's so strange. My chat. Okay. And so you guys, I just shared my link to my board that I just created. And it should give you access if you're already in there. Okay. Questions on how we share our boards? RJ, our breakout rooms ready?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. No questions? We know how to share our boards? So it looks like we'll have one breakout room of 3 and one is 4, but I know Ashley can't talk. So the room that she's in should have the 4 so they can all collaborate.
Yep.
All righty. So we're going to open breakout rooms, and RJ and I will follow you guys into one to help navigate if there's any problems. But go ahead and go into your breakout rooms, decide who's going first. Take about 10 minutes apiece, kind of going through brainstorming on each other's boards. And we'll, like I said, help you guys navigate. All right, in the breakout rooms we go.
All righty.
Because it's like you gotta connect students where I don't want to be the person where I'm just like, I gotta always, or I have to threaten to talk to your parents to correct you. Whereas like, you don't know how some parents even try to like discipline their kids for stuff that's like, no, I'm not trying to mean your child is out of pocket, but just like little stuff they need to know, that on and off switch.
This ain't therapy, bro. Like, you got
all righty. Well, we are about out of time. Some great conversations that came out of our brainstorming. Hopefully you all got what you needed out of that. Hopefully you all jump-started your process for your brainstorming, for your ideation. And this, right? So the ideate stage is kind of that critical step when we start to think about what is it we're going to actually build as an MVP. When you go to launch your business, right, there's always a minimum viable product that you're going to use to launch. You can't launch your business, or it's not a good idea to launch your business with all the bells and whistles and all the great ideas, but you start to think of what is the critical places I need to start? What are the things if I don't do anything else? And if you think about some of the products and services that you use today, some of them, they have features you've never touched, right? And they talk about, most of us on our apps, really on our phones, only use like 2 or 3 apps on a regular basis, right? There's a lot of products and services that have all these cool features we've never used or never heard of, but we use it for like that killer feature that is like defining for us. You want to think about when you start to design your solution, what is the feature that people, if it doesn't do all the amazing things, if it just had this, then your users will be super excited. That is where you start to get these ideas, because it addresses a problem so well for them. It's meeting a need that's so important for them that they're not getting addressed the way they want to elsewhere. This is where you know your starting point. So hopefully that's what comes out of this, that you're able to, as my professor used to say, take your brainstorming, sit under a tree, and just ponder, right? And really start to think how these things are going to come together into your solution space, in your MVP, in your prototype. How are you going to make sure that these critical pieces are in there? And so I want you to redo this with some of your family, your friends, right? Because we only did 10 minutes, right? And you think about all the ideas that came out in 10 minutes. If you were to do this with an hour, right, with some close friends, order some pizzas and be like, hey, we're going to have a brainstorming night, right? And you really get some ideas going. And if you're the people that you can redo it with, if you got some parents or grandparents or nieces or nephews or just people with varying ages or backgrounds, they will flood you with ideas that you never even thought of in terms of how to brainstorm this innovative space, right? And so you want to kind of repeat this as you can, especially if you have multiple how might we statements. You repeat that with different sectors of people to just really try to push your thinking and your ideas. And you really want to think about those clusters, addressing the main points, and something that, some of the things as you look at it, as you're looking at the clusters that take shape, think back to your interviews, right? How did this subject matter? How did this piece of it play out with the people that you interview? How did they talk about it? How were they passionate about it, right? How did this address really their pain points, right? So look for the low-hanging fruit as well, right? It's not always about the big wins, but what are the things that are really easy barriers of entry? Like everyone wants world peace, but what can we do right now, right? What are the things that you can start moving on right now that's going to get you traction, that's going to get you to connect with your customers, with your audience? What are those things? Identify that based off of what you did in your brainstorming, right? And this is how we become solution focused. How do we help our users to really solve the problem? So those are the things that we're looking to do and that we're going to build off of. So hopefully this gave you that. And like I said, this class builds on itself. So all the things that we've been doing have brought us to this point. So now we can really start thinking about, now what does this solution going to do? What does it look like and how does it take shape? So that hopefully was fruitful. One of the things I will recommend to you guys, because we were in different breakout rooms, is to take your links of your shared boards and put them in the forum. And then and that way, if we all have other ideas that we can share with you, or if someone was in a different room because you have your how might we statement in there, put it in there. And everyone else, if you get a chance, go to each other's boards, before Friday, right? So they can kind of have time to ruminate on it. And just put other thoughts that you had on it. Like, hey, we talked about it. And I had this other thought of how about this other idea? Or I wasn't in the room with you, but I see your how might we statement and I have some great ideas to add. So put that in the community forum in our shared site. And that'll be a good way so we can kind of continue to support each other. So I highly recommend that as a suggestion. But I know we went a little over because I'm talkative, but Katie will be back with you guys next week. If no one has any more questions, that is a wrap for the night. Are we good?
Is there anything that you wanted submitted for the night or submitted this week?
Yes. Sorry. Thank you. That's why I said have it done by Friday. If you have something to add to each other's board, have it done by Friday. Export those boards. So thank you, RJ, because I get excited and was about to send everybody home and not do what I was supposed to do. So on here, you have, I'm sorry, I'm on somebody's board. I think that's Paul's board. Sorry, Paul, I'm sharing your board. But just as a demonstrate at the top where it says export this board. So you want to click on that, save it as an image or as a PDF, whichever, probably image is easier. So save it as an image and it will download that board as an image. And that's where you will upload to your assignment this week. We want to see your board, right? If you redo your board or you do another how might we statement, you could send that one, but we want to see one of your boards and see how you're thinking. And again, this is not just what we did tonight, shouldn't stop here. You can add more to your board, repeat this with family and friends, whichever you decide to do, but we want to see that board and we want to see where your thinking is. But I'm sorry, that board shouldn't look like that, right? Remember when we're done, you put it in your clusters, you add your label. So the way that we looked at it in class when we did it collaboratively, that's what we want to see. So I don't want to just see just your brain dump of ideas, but clusters, your labels, so we can kind of see where the ones, and you can rank them, right? And I forgot to mention that once you have your clusters, rank them, right? This is the top one that I really want to focus on. Here's my number 2 and my 3. So what are your top 3 clusters that you want to focus on? Those are the ones you want to just put, you can put a number at the top of those clusters, or you can draw a circle around it using those tools. I apologize. I'm going to demonstrate on Paul's again. Sorry, Paul. Wait, no, I can show you guys. So I don't have to do it up on his. I'm trying to get back to the one that I did for class and I wrote over that window. So give me a second and I can show you guys. I apologize for going way over, but this is important. This isn't the one I was showing, but anyway.
Well, while you do that, I'll just say, because typically, so what you guys can do is send the one that y'all did today, send that tonight, and then Friday have your updated one with your boards organized and everything like that. So we'll just stick it to how we do every week. Whatever you worked on today, send that tonight, and then on Friday have your updated one to submit for your assignment. Fair enough?
And so your updated one, as RJ suggested, so the one you send tonight might look like this board. Your updated one will have your clusters with the labels to it and identify your top 3 of your clusters. So your updated one should reflect kind of the ones that we know that these are the directions that you're moving in. Everybody good? Thumbs up if we're good. Thumbs up if you want to go home. If you want me to, thank you. All right, there we go. I know how to get y'all attention. All right. All right. So go ahead and send what you got so far tonight and then update it and send that in by the end of the week. All righty, everyone. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
You as well.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.